Hello, Jeffrey.
Oh, Jacqueline.
So here we are to talk about date night, this space that we have created. For me, it's a space to like that I see is born out of a personal necessity. It's been really interesting to have this research, like always having this kind of, yeah, this meta or like self-reflective layer that is this real research of being in a relating space with you since the beginning, since the famous frying pan. And yeah, I feel a lot of joy and just support to not be doing it alone and inviting all of these other people, couples in all phases and shapes and forms to discover with us. Yeah, and I really do want this to be really just like a candid conversation about, what does date night mean to us? How is it supporting us, and why does it matter for us to have it for other people? Why invite others? Why would they come? And you had this brilliant impulse to make this recording. So what's burning in you about date night that you want to dive into?
Yeah, in the last call, the this thing came out of me, which was that I if two people are trying to relate and they're trying to work through everything on their own, then it usually becomes this loop. Like whenever there's a some whenever two people in a what some would call a relationship or what we would call a relating space, they get stuck because you know there's this saying that like your romantic partner is there to as the biggest mirror, as the biggest trigger of all your stuff, and it is true. And so if you're each there to trigger each other, then it would be nearly impossible to work through it on your own because you just start, you trigger them, they trigger you, you trigger them, they trigger you, and it just becomes this closed loop that spins out of control and goes nowhere. It doesn't go into conscious territory. And even couples that are really evolved or they're really practicing all this stuff, still they get stuck on their own. And so the date night is just one opportunity to use the power of a village to support working through stuff. And it's not the date night is not like a problem solving space. It's not a space to for problems. It's not a problem space. It's a space of love and connection and fun and creation, collaboration and discovery. And at the same time, how can you discover if you're stuck? So everybody just starts where they are, and as in relating spaces, we get stuck all the time. It's like if you're in the jungle and you get stuck in the quicksand or the mud, then you can't keep discovering in the jungle until you get yourself out of the mud. So sometimes that's where people are at, and what we keep finding more and more is, from my opinion, or from my point of view, is people get stuck, and we work together to help them navigate through it, learn what they have to learn from it, and keep going. Us included. When I say they and them, I'm including us, you and I, as part of this. So that's um that's one, I think one of the big keys of date night is give yourself the opportunity of having other couples around you to support you in discovering, how to move through the triggers and the hooks and the getting stuck. And the other side is to learn about what other couples are doing that works and that is useful, that is, that adds value to the relating space. So, it's like if I use the example of like traveling to another country and discovering how they do something in another country, and that could be, we could, I can bring that back with me and say, wow, I really love this way, and I'm going to implement it in my life. So it's like, traveling to other cultures, traveling into other couples relating spaces and seeing how other couples do things. Oh, wow, that looks like it really works. I want to try experimenting with that. So it's like these two sides of date night. One is a village to work through stickiness, and the other is to get new tools. And so something that I'm noticing works really well for me, and I think for people in general, is like asking each other. I brought this conversation to say, if we ask each other questions and speak from the unknown and just like speak into the question, into the vacuum of the question, it would be really, we can discover even new ways of relating what happens in the space, and what what people can you know grab onto to come in and become part of this, which is, it's a week to week basis. It's not like something you have to register for and make a long commitment. You can come in one time and see how it is, which is not, it's not to come in and just be a witness. If you come in, you're part of the space. There are no spectators in date night, but to see what else. So w- the the question, I have a question for you.
Hmm.
The question is, what why why is this for everybody? Why is this for all couples of any experience in workshops, of any, that is for any couple? Why is this for any couple? New, just started dating, been dating for a long time. Why is it for everybody?
It's a great question, Jeffrey. Thank you. And yeah, what's very clear is that relating is about intimacy, and it's not even really necessary that this space be limited to couples at the end of the day, because it's really about practicing intimacy, relating with anyone. And obviously there's this, when you're in some kind of a partnership with someone, there's certain layers of intimacy, although we actually so often, at least in modern culture, are very quick to jump from, if there's some kind of an attraction, it's romantic and I need to do something about it. But any time that I really want to relate with someone where there's some kind of a draw, anything beyond, which could happen with anybody. It could be with some stranger on the street, or it could be with someone at a party, or it could be, with someone like you work with, or, whatever it is. And it's really about just learning how to relate with anybody. And there's this extra layer of that anybody is someone that you care enough to have this ongoing intimacy with them. So it's like this ongoing deepening of intimacy. And when you spend that much time with someone, and you get to know them that well, And part of that attraction actually is, or what I found, part of the attraction that I have to you, or that I've had to partners, is it's like they do bring up these things that are for my healing and for my evolution, for both. It shows me the parts of myself that I don't want to see, and it also shows me so much, potential that I can step into in collaboration. And and yeah, and so it's this it doesn't really matter, because people who, especially, actually, diversity has so much more information, right? The more diversity there is, then the more I can learn. And I've learned really so much from the different, you know, angles and combinations of people that have showed up. People who've had their first and second dates, people who, they're just exploring, like, do I even want to relate with this person? I don't know. People who, have been off and on for years, people who are, planning to make a baby. And so really there's so much, yeah, richness in the diversity of experience that people offer, and that it's not so one-sided. And that's actually why anyone that's more than us is so great, because us trying to figure it out on our own is quite limited. It's so, just saying, oh, we think we know everything, which is impossible. And actually, I find some of the people who are the most, what I would say, quote unquote, different, that have a more different experience than me, actually expand my box, my comfort zone way more, because it's like, wow, I didn't even know that was possible. I didn't even know I could graduate from being a mom, which has so much to say about, okay, what if I had a child with a partner, and then something happened, and then I could graduate from being a mom and co-parenting, or raising a child in a village, and all the expectations that come with it, and and just, yeah, it's like, I've only known that relating romantically goes like one way, and to witness so many different ways it can go, and also seeing that people who are so supposedly different than me also have the same, you know things that they are navigating. And so much I see is like, I think one of the saddest parts that I experience in our relating, and I see in other people's relating, is how much that people want to meet each other, and it's just like these blocks in the way of just meeting each other. And it's amazing to see, all these really ingenious strategies that we've come up with to block ourselves from meeting each other, in this rawness, in this vulnerability, in co-creation, in aliveness. And it's so easy to block. And I love uncovering new tools, new insights. And even in our last session, when there are people who, a couple that's been coming since kind of the beginning, they flipped, and they were really ready also to space hold, and all the insights and the wisdom, and the space holding that both of them really have to offer, like both of them stepping up. And and I also felt a lot of joy, like, yeah, I don't need to space hold everything. Like I can let people also support me, support us. And that's also really touching, as just a general, a microcosm of the macro possibility.
Yeah, I want to like shine a brighter, even brighter light on you said this thing about the right way. And one of the big things that I think we're healing in our generation is the wound of the one right way. Like the culture that surrounds us, in cities, and really in basically everything, every human except for a few that are living still in, like, what some would call like more primitive or savage ways. It's all about the one right way. It's all about trying to decide who's doing it right, because we're essentially trying to play God. This this culture of humans trying to play God, and God decides what's right and wrong, so to speak. And we're trying to play this right and wrong game, and to just see, there are just so many other ways of doing it is, I think, a big healing process, which is why, travel, going back to travel, is such a big learning, such a big teacher, just to see, okay, there are just different ways of doing things.
Mm,
So yeah, it's funny because as I asked you the question, I was also discovering the answer, and you kind of hit on every point, including that people that come to the space learn also how to hold space for other couples,
mm,
learn how to be wonderful vessels, spaces for other people and other couples to see more. And that's what's happening with this couple. And it was probably the most touching part for me of the last call. That was like, oh my God, they're stepping up and they're navigating, and it's like, whoa.
mm,
So that's happening also.
mhm. Yes, and I have a burning question for you, which is that I have I've seen you be such a steward of this space, and how committed you are to it, to bringing people, to showing up every week, to sharing resources. And I feel your deep commitment, and also knowing you, I know that you've done a lot of personal research about, in your own romantic relating life. And so wherever you're at on your path with this in your journey right now, what is it that is so, like, what is so important for your personal research about this? Like, what is this drive that I really see in you to have this space exist beyond just, something good for the world? Like, what's it really for you, Jeffrey?
Yeah. I think there's this sort of journey arc of in people's lives of sort of doing something for the wrong reasons, and then like having so much pain about it because it's being done for the wrong reasons, and then kind of falling apart, and then realizing, oh wait, I've been going through all this because this is what I'm meant to work on. And so for me, yeah, it's like I wanted a partner so badly. I wanted a partner so much, and always looking for it. And then, you know, it's a lot of pain, a lot of disaster and relating, a lot, but always wanting the relating, but then also, having it be really messy, and not knowing how it goes, and falling in love with someone, and then like being totally shocked that I was just left, and falling in love with somebody and thinking this is what I wanted, and then a few months later being completely repulsed by them. It's like all these things, and it's been such a big part of my life, for whatever reason. You know, a lot of it's from what I thought I needed in my life and what I thought was right. But here I am, and so I've had so many experiences and so much pain about it, that it's such that I'm realizing this really matters to me. Why it matters, I don't know. I can ask, God when I get to the gates, and she'll give me an answer. Um, but it's I wanna really, and it's not just me. It's not just me. I know there are many others. The statistics show that there are many others that are really struggling in this. And it's such a it's such a big, huge, massively huge part of life. And we never practiced any of this stuff. Like we never went into an intentional practice of relating, of creating partnership, It's just like, oh, we're humans. Humans know how to do this. You're gonna learn all this other stuff, math, science, history, all the stuff we learn in school. We're not gonna teach you this stuff. Sex. In some countries they do teach this stuff actually. In some countries it's a really big part of the culture, and they tend to do so much better. And so for me, this is about being honest with where I am, saying, okay, I've not practiced this. I've messed it up many times because I've not practiced this. So I want to practice. And instead of waiting or trying to find the great space that will offered by this you know whatever influencer or the other influencer that makes great content. So okay, I want to just make the space and invite other people that I that I know and that I don't know to come, and let's do it together from not knowing, from not knowing, and not trying to plug in the one right way, the next one right way.
Thank you. Yeah, it really struck me when you said, when you spoke about, we learn, yeah, math and science, and we don't really learn how to relate. And yeah, it's been my whole life. Like just feeling so much fear about relating, not just romantically, just really relating in general. Like really so much fear about, how to do it right. What will people think of me? I know, am I going to piss people off? Am I too much? Am I enough? The list goes on. And it's like this, I would say, particularly in romantic relating, but not exclusively. It's like this, it's such a sacred space. It's such a sacred space. There's so much intention and energy and investment and vulnerability. And, often, especially in modern culture, it's like everything behind the scenes. Like the people in my family said once that, they only reveal all of their feelings to their partner that they're married to. And like, that's it, no one else. And
Yeah.
it's like, that's so much. That's so much, pressure. And I just see all of the buildup of the breakdown, for in my own experience and people around. Like it's like inhumane. It's inhumane. It's like a lack of humanity in relating, because everything is so focused on the world outside. How am I getting somewhere? How am I being valuable? How am I being productive? And there's this like art of relating, you know again, I can only speak in my experience, and also in modern culture, and what I've seen is just so lost. And it's, I'm realizing now, speaking in this moment, like for me, I have this real desire to be really artful at relating, like to really, you know do the dance with joy and delight, and this, yeah, radical reliance on my inner resources to navigate the truth, and to also take risks, and to make invitations to create, and mess it up, or have it be wildly, beyond my anything I could dream of. And 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 how to have it also not be, you know really disconnected from reality, and have it be real. This is real relating, not some, there's something about holding this vision of what I want to create, and then the tension of, and what is the reality, without creating a fantasy, and holding both, this tension of creation that I've been learning a little bit about recently. And yeah, it's like, how can I hold this tension of creation without floating away, and it being, some fantasy, like it's being the power couple, or we're gonna be together forever, or it's gonna all look like this, or I have plans, 20 years out. That's a fantasy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go.
I mean, well, I want to speak into this thing about fantasy worlds because as you were sharing, it was a lot was kind of because I felt this anger of like, what does it even mean? What is actually fantasy world? This distinction, what does it mean? And I got it that like fantasy is about living in something that is disconnected from the laws of nature, like the laws of the universe, meaning like gravity is a law. Like it is, and it affects everything equal. Like there are no exceptions. This is like what reality is, like living in accordance with the laws. So for instance, like anyone can live in a fantasy for a long time, and it could seem like it's working. If I look at certain um, metrics, like certain uh, evidence that it's working, but it's like, there's this example in this book I read recently where it's like if you if you try to invent something that flies and you throw it off a really high cliff, like really high, and it can even be gliding and it seems like it's flying. And if you check, even a few minutes after, it still looks like it's flying. But this thing is going faster and faster, and it's going on its way down. And eventually you're gonna hit the bottom on this thing. But you can pretend like it's working the whole way down, literally until the second before it crashes. You could be in this fantasy about you're flying, I'm flying, and and yeah, it's like it's this is happening on many levels in relating, but also like in relation the way humans are relating to the planet. And I don't want to go too far away from date night, but it actually it's this date night seems to also it's a doorway into like coming back to reality and saying like, is the way I'm living really supporting my existence on planet Earth, the existence of us, of humans, of everything that's here now, of living things on planet Earth? Is it working? And I can the common saying is, well, we've always found a solution to everything, so we're gonna find the solution. It's gonna happen. And this is the fantasy. It's like couples this is, yes, couples have this fantasy also. Like every couple has problems. We're gonna solve it. We're gonna solve it. We're gonna get through it. We're gonna figure this out. And mostly that means we're gonna figure this out on our own, and we're gonna leave it in a black box, and we're not gonna tell anybody about it. So everybody thinks that we're fine. And I just want to break that. I want to break that like the fantasy about fantasies, the fantasy about we can solve this on our own. I I yeah, I want to just get off the plane, jump off and get the parachute, and like not hit the ground at what what is it? Like a speed of an acceleration of 8.5 meters per second, whatever, the gravity.
Got it.
9.8. 9.8 meter. Anyway, so yeah, it's
I'll fact check you later.
an invitation for any couple who's watching this to just jump off, like jump off the 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 modern culture plane of you can figure it out yourself. Like figure it out yourself and don't bother anybody until you've got it figured out.
Mm, mhm, mm. Yeah, peeling back the curtains. Mhm.
So you're gonna hit bottom either way, but at least with the parachute, you're gonna hit it and softly instead of like boom,
You'll land on us. We'll be laying there on the ground to welcome
we'll all land together.
you. Yeah. Yeah. I yeah, I also recall people who've said a few times that they've wanted to invite friends, and their friends have been like, we don't want to talk about what's going on in the group. And even, we've recently done some bottom hitting, and it it really things fell apart. Things really fell apart. And I was glad that you had this impulse to share it in the group, and I did. And I was sort of, I don't know what I was waiting for. It was something like I wanted to actually, yeah, I wanted to check with you, not for permission, but I was like, okay, are we on, the front? Is the front together? Are we on the same page here? And then of course you went ahead and sent something without checking. And and actually I wonder about that. Like in every call I open with this thing where, you know, it, I think in most calls, if not all calls, we open with some sort of a sharing, like what's burning in you this week, or what's your necessity. And I always say, share as an individual. It's you are not, you don't have to wait for your partner to go, because it's like building blocks, right? Every relationship is built on I mean, so many unconscious building blocks that probably come from generations back of relating, right, that have been passed down, but also and culture, etc. And also, yeah, this thing about, okay, you know, I need to be on the same page as my partner. We need to present the same face to the world, or I need to check with my partner. Is it okay to say this thing? Or it's like they
Mhm.
become this we unit. And then, and especially in my own experience, like I've really lost myself. And it was like honestly, one of the most horrific experiences of my life. Like I felt like dead. Like I was not there. Like I did not feel alive. Like I was a
Mm.
ghost. And it was
Yeah.
it was terrible. And I've vowed since then, like I will not let that happen to myself again. I'm so scared of losing myself in the we. I don't want that to happen again ever. And it's really important to me. And it's not about, as has also come up in our group, about being a totally, sovereign being. And I don't consider this person I'm choosing to relate with at all, because why bother? Why bother form that relationship? Why bother invest that time and energy if I just want to just be sovereign? Then okay, just be, they're just another person. So there is something like, they are special, you are special to me, like I want to have this deep ongoing connection with you. And at the same time, that cannot replace a deep ongoing connection with myself. And so I in this, I don't know how I'm really tying together this, sharing and revealing yourself as a couple. It's also really, yeah, revealing yourself as an individual and making sure that part is still seen. Because that's also so much of where my pain and my desire come up in our relating space. Like my pain is like when I don't feel seen, when I don't bring myself forward, when I don't feel like I'm in collaboration with you, or I'm not experiencing that with you, not as a victim, but in how am I not creating that? And then my desire is like, all these things that, like, can I dare to desire them? Can I dare to go after them? Can I dare to speak them and act on them and invite you to go with me and navigate with you?
Yeah, I was, there I, I know a lot of couples, and usually the the one who's very sovereign, in couples, if there's one who's very sovereign, they're usually quite lonely. And
Mhm.
if there's one who's very codependent, they usually have um, some sort of disease. They usually get some sort of disease. The sovereign one always speaks up and always says and always does what they want. So they don't have a lot of things stuck as much stuck. So they don't, and I don't see them suffering from a lot of diseases, like physical diseases, more mental stuff, loneliness, like these kind of things. And people who are, codependent or people pleasers, like they're always just being whatever their partner is. Those people I see tend to have more like physical ailments, physical stuff. And so I
Mhm.
was thinking, yeah, I was gonna say like, look, if you want to be one unit, like there's no problem, there's that's fine. And it is fine. And everything has a consequence, every single thing. And going through the process of disentangling and de-enmeshing also has consequences. And the consequence is, we've been talking about like you're gonna have so much energy all of a sudden, you're not gonna know what to do with it. So that's gonna be that's a scary thing to have so much energy and not know what to do with it. And so there's this risk of also, I worked with this couple once. I worked with this couple once, and actually I was just working with the woman first, and the woman through doing all this emotional healing work and empowerment work, she was so radiant that she went and she cheated on her husband with another person, with like just a kind of random person, not anyway. It's like she had so much new energy all of a sudden because she was literally getting her identity, her person back from the we that she had created she had been creating, because it wasn't her first partner or her first husband even. Like she had decided that she would commit her life to finding a relationship and then being the relationship. And then doing all this work, she started started get all this energy back, and she didn't know what to do with it. And her partner at the time, he didn't have his energy, so she took it elsewhere. And I'm I'm not making a judgment about it. It was just kind of a crazy thing. And actually, this happening sparked so much pain in him that then we started working together, and he started getting his energy back. And they've been on this really long, amazing journey of discovering what does it mean to be a couple that aren't entangled and meshed, and that aren't not a couple. Because the opposite is not a couple anymore, just like you both go off on your own direction. So it's like, you know two people walking their own tightropes together, in the same direction. It's like that's how much how precise romantic relating is. That's the kind of precision that that it requires. And it's really this like transformational romantic relating, because there are a lot of people who are doing the kind of numb thing where we're going to be together forever no matter what. And the measure of success of relating in modern culture is, do we stay together until one of the two people dies? That's like the measure of success in sort of Western society. That's a pretty shitty measuring stick, I would say, in my personal opinion.
So what would be like, let's say
So I was
we
gonna ask.
throw,
I was gonna be my question to you. What are different measuring sticks for relating?
I was gonna say, let's throw out the measuring stick to begin with. We'll just
Okay.
pull the rug out to start, and instead of measuring anything, it's like, and I'm still learning this. I'm really deconditioning a lot of of this. and of this being, you know, this paradigm of really like monogamy, basically. And in my explorations, it's like, yeah, the non-monogamy is just some other reactive concept to not doing monogamy. And so it's like I'm still in these like concepts, like it's like a program instead of what it is actively choosing like I want to, what do I want, like,
Like,
and choosing it again and again. And instead of measuring like there's some success, it's more like, I mean, this is one of like the, I don't know what you call it, one of the like tenets of our relating space is that it is a space of practice. And so it's like, you know, what are the things, the shared things that bring us together, that are alive, you know. And it's not like alive every day, like I'm so, you know, ecstatic and hyped up like an energizer bunny and I can't stop, you know, 24/7 365 days a year. But something like, you know, this is what I care about, and then if it shifts, okay, and then I can be real about it. But it's like I'm choosing to relate with you, I choose to create with you because I want to, and that might change someday for either of us or both of us, or we might just change and still want that, and we're new people relating every day, which kind of already does happen. And so hold on, Jeffrey,
well, I have a fear
be
that
here.
we're going off into this like other territory of ways of labeling, relating, and or relationships, and
Let's not, well, yes, and yes, and I just wanted to touch on that because that's where when I talk about measuring, that those are the things that come up. It's like the concepts, the measuring stick. What are the ideas of success, right? This is like, this is the world of measurement. It's like all in this world of labels and measurement and how it's supposed to go. So that's this is like what I have known, what a lot of people have known. And so that's like what it's been like. And what I want to step into is not just something that's not that either, you know, to escape that, because my reference point is still that. And so it's, for me, what I'm, this is my ongoing research, you know, this is my necessity for this space, is how do I create this relational space with you, because it's what's alive in me, because I care, because it matters to me, because I, there's something I'm getting from it, and something that I'm wanting to give, you know, without expecting something in return. And and I'm still discovering so much, this like aliveness of creating with you, walking with you. And sometimes there's like these tension points, you know, I notice with us or with other couples too. It's like, you know, there's these things that are sort of stretching you, and then like the shaking becomes more, and it's like, okay, are we going to break, are we going to sling back and, you know, collide, and you know what's going to happen in this tension of change, you know, there's like always these little points of tension being thrown in, and it's like, how are we using that to create or not?
so in service of like not doing the opposite of making measuring, like having some sort of measure of success. I want to put some things on the table of like what are other ways to like to create a new context, new reference points of how to make amazing relating, right? It's like
You have the
not
answers, you figured it out.
no, it's just it's like, well, I have some things which are like, how often do we check in about what we each care about and what we want to do together? You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
how much aliveness do we bring? How much do we work together in supporting other people? How much mm, how much fun do we have? How much of a balance do we have between being together and being with our friends? You know, these are completely different things, and they're not opposite. They're not the opposite. They're not the inverse. They are just new places that I can put my attention where I can have like still have some measuring about like to create new measurements that give me new possibilities. So if I measure, if I'm measuring, God, are we gonna stay together till the end? Then I'm gonna operate from within a certain framework. I'm gonna approach you in a certain framework. But if I'm measuring, you know, how balanced are we in relating with each other and relating with our our own things, how much do we create together and individually, that these are new reference points that put me in a totally new territory of how I see you as a human, as an individual human, rather than this possession of that I need to see do everything I can to defend from, the forces around me that are trying to attack and take you away from me. I don't know, some weird territorial possessive thing that happens often.
Yes, and I'm hearing you. Uh, what I'm getting, or how I'm, yeah, interpreting what you're saying, is it's not so much about measuring, but I'm hearing something about noticing and 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 creating intimacy. So it's like what am I noticing about our aliveness? What am I noticing about how balanced I feel or not? What am I noticing about how you're showing up? Because I feel I felt some fear to not bring the distinction that, this is not about pressure, right? It's not about, there's a formula for how balanced, or how much to create, or how little, or what it should look like. Still, I want to just make it clear, and I don't know that that's what you're insinuating, but I just want to bring that clear distinction. It's more about this, the noticing all of the things that you just mentioned. Like, how is it? What is the quality of it? Like, what's really happening in all these areas of relating? And then creating intimacy around it. So having real conversations about it, and shifting, and or inviting something new, trying something different, or and also, appreciating what's so wonderful, that is happening, that is beautiful, without, again, the pressure of it needing to look or achieve some kind of a balance, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, some words that I got to like that maybe are more, I don't, not more, but are a different words to describe this same thing that you're talking about, are like creating subjective measures versus objective measures. Subjective meaning things that we notice, things that we like, seeing qualities rather than quantities, like putting attention on qualities rather than on, oh, I, working on the a spreadsheet. We did this many collaborations this week and this many alone and this many together. And like this kind of neurotic perfectionist thing. It's like, okay, how to drop it, because the do we stay together until somebody dies is a pretty objective measure. Yeah. And there's some, yeah, neuroticism and like and pressure that comes with it. It's very it's full of pressure. And yeah, like just relaxing into the subjective experience of how's it going, you know and yeah, like of the having an appreciation for all of it.
Yeah.
including this wonderful conversation that you and I have been on for quite a while now. Feels like 5 minutes, but it's been, I don't even know how long now.
I mean, either. Yeah.
And yeah, I I really appreciate this journey we're on, which is the double, which has two purposes, like this space and also what we're doing together and date night. And
Will
so
you will you say more? You're being elusive here about this the journey and for all of our happy listeners out there.
yeah, it has to do with this, like this, I don't know, 1 hour or something, feeling like 5 minutes, that there's a way that the space between us has so much love and care and fun, that it seems to fly by, and at the same time it feels kind of like expanded. So it's like it's happening really fast, and also it's taking its time at the same time. So it's like so many dimensions are happening in the same moment, and that's I see it as a like this psychedelic, amazing experience where all the rigidity like softens, and everything that was not available before is now possible.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Hearing you say that, I'm speaking a little quieter because I got a request to be a little quieter because I'm living with a bunch of women right now. We're very amazing.
So it
And
sounds like a time to
almost. So
land gently.
yes, and this is related, which is it's coming back to this art of relating, and I'm noticing like all of the attention, the care, and the creating. Like, yeah, this is just one space. You know, there's so much we have explored in creating together. You know, whether it's in the kitchen, in the bedroom, with family, in training spaces, in logistics for traveling from one place to the next, like every week for God knows how many months in a row. You know, it's really, I'm really appreciating now this, just that it's like almost like this mass, this like muscle that has been built and is still being built to sort of dance when, you know, again, when things are shining, when they're messy, when one of us is up or down, or both up or we're both down, or whatever. And it's like this, it's like palpable. Like I'm experiencing it right now in this conversation of there's been effort and care, like an intention put into this relating space. And there's so much more to learn, you know, the infinite. and and I don't feel like a master of anything, you know, like at the same time, it's like after all of the intention we put in since day one, you know, there's still so much. And I love it because it is so expansive. It is like, okay, you know, there's always more. And it's fascinating to do this work with you, like with a partner, like researching together. And it's, yeah, it's so alive and loving and scary and fun, and I love doing it with other people. I love having a team. I love having a team. I can't say it enough, and I've never. It's relatively new for me to embrace this so much in my personal life. Like it's like I don't have a personal life anymore. And I mean that in sort of a double entendre. Like there's, you know, I don't have a personal life in the sense that like there's it's not hidden so much and in my own little world. And then it's also not personal in that it's not just for me. Like it's touching more of it's not just for me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is fun. Time to land the plane then. I will stop recording now unless there's anything else you'd like to say.
I'm excited to see you in a few days after many weeks.
Me too.